Hey everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Into the Rift podcast, a Riftbound TCG podcast hosted by myself, Alex Coccia, and of course, my very good friend and best of Timo Bologna, and Riftbound coach, Joe Curley. Joe, how are you today, my man?
Yeah, very good, thank you, mate. We're looking forward to Sydney this coming week, which is going to be very interesting to see how much Aurora does or doesn't dominate. And today, though, we're focused on the budget decks, and there's been some results already, right, in China. There's been some really, really high-performing decks already that are extremely cheap. Like, we've got a $20 deck in this video that came third at a big event in China. So we've got some really strong budget decks, especially focused on some of the new legends, Alex.
I think one of my favorite things about the onset of any new set is just cooking. Opening packs, seeing what you got, and then start cooking from there. And I think there's a couple different approaches as well. You could get like your Vi starter deck, your Vex starter deck, and try to see if you can sub cards in and build off that. I think that is like the ultimate budget way to do it, right? And perhaps we actually talk about that next week, because this week we're talking about like more competitive lists. We did try to keep the costs low. Again, we have decks that are like in the $20 range. Most are hovering in like the $40 to $50. There's a couple outliers because just some legends are built more expensive. They're like in the $100 range, but those are kind of outliers. And sometimes it's only a card or two that actually amps up the cost a lot. So we do have a lot for everyone here. We're going to talk about each of the 12 new legends and a couple of the older ones as well, so that you guys have a nice variety to choose from. And the nice thing about that is like Spirit Forge and Origins, you might be able to find some of those pieces even cheaper. It's also worth noting, if you're budget conscious, that the prices often go down throughout the course of a set. And so you can kind of keep these lists in mind, and obviously as lists improve over time too, and then you can start like finding when cards drop in price and start to like make your picks as to like when to enter the market, as they say.
Yeah, definitely. And I also heard that Riot said they're going to be doing like another wave of pre-order type stuff, which includes set 1, set 2, and set 3. So there should be a lot of product. And I think like the set 1 prices in particular should start to come down soon. Like, for example, Kai'Sa, I would expect to like begin to gradually fall once more Origins is out on the market. So that's something to keep an eye on as well.
Of course. And yeah, I'm super excited about that. It seemed like the amount of product available for set 3 was higher. I know my local LGS did have more product than maybe they had in the past, and they were even like, okay, one box per everybody here, but I think in the next day or two we'll open it up for anybody. I like how they do that, by the way. They make so everyone at least gets one or like gets a box and gets a starter deck and stuff, and then they open up after a few days and say, all right, you want to buy 20, go buy 20 type thing, which is kind of cool, right? So it gives everyone a shot to get some product, which I appreciate. Other than that, Joe, I want to get right into the budget decks, but before that, have you opened anything crazy or what?
I haven't actually received my main 3 boxes I'm waiting on, so I'm still waiting. I've been playing a lot. I'm streaming Riftbound like almost every day at the moment, and the game is super fun, that's for sure. But how about your packs, Alex? What's been treating you?
Okay, so first of all, I opened nothing but Jhin. I don't understand why I got all those Jhin cards, and I was like, man, like, it's like the one legend I absolutely have no desire to play. Like, I just have zero desire to play Jhin. And of course, he was in my packs nonstop. I did pull some interesting things. I'm going to be building Rengar and Lillia for the new set. I want to optimize my Azir deck. And then I'm going to be building some Viktor as well. And I'll be showcasing that maybe a little later. I have some creative things I think I want to do with those decks. But regardless, like, I'm just hyped up. Oh, there is a super cool card that I pulled that I don't have at my desk. Watch this. The editing magic here is going to make me instantly reappear. And I'm back. So while I was opening packs, I didn't actually get that many pulls. So I have like a couple like top loaders with like my favorite cards, Joe. And one of my absolute favorite cards, hopefully it's not too dark in my room, but the Bone Shiver that you get for participating in regionals, I absolutely love this. I've kept that very close to my heart for a long time. But that's not what I'm talking about here. What did I pull? I did pull a Veteran Poro. I just can't get enough of the Poros. Like, they're absolutely beautiful. I've managed to open 3 boxes, which is super exciting. Thank you to Riot for improving the flow of product. But like, for me, I didn't have that many great hits. No overnumbers, except for this. This is my overnumber in 3 boxes. But I'll tell you, like, I think I'll be able to make some good stuff. And I think part of the fun, though, as well, is like, I got to figure out like what I'm missing. Like, I need like one Thrill of the Hunt, stuff like that. So going to my LGS with like your binder open and trading is also part of the fun of starting a new set and stuff like that. So I'm really excited for this set, Joe.
Hopefully I get lucky. I would love a Palty Poro, honestly. That's the Poro I'm after. Or maybe a Lonely Poro. I guess Lonely Poro is also in that big art and has an overnumbered. But yeah, the Poros are awesome. I think they're the ones I would mainly want to hit.
And I know this is totally random, but you were just recently on the Cyberpunk TCG podcast. I loved your cameo on there. And one of my absolute more valuable cards is a foiled alpha print of a Cyberpunk TCG. This is a test print of the original Cyberpunk TCG when they were just testing the prints of the cards. I do have one of these. And so like this is probably the most valuable card that I have, unrelated
I didn't even know that existed.
Riftbound.
I'm officially
jealous. And it's actually, if you look very carefully at the top, it's actually a miscut, which is kind of cool. So I don't know. It might be a 1 of 1, which is kind of cool. So that's like the card that I'm very just protective of. But anyways, that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about Riftbound budget decks. Joe, we're going to get right into it. That is the intro. People really like our intros, I think. But we got to talk decks here, and we're starting with Lillia. I think Lillia is going to be one of the most budget-friendly legends for Riftbound Unleashed. This particular deck is running at $52 as of recording, and I got to tell you, I think Lillia is awesome. And this deck as a whole, though, like if you actually think about where the cost is coming from, it's Lilting Lullaby at $6.50, which could definitely come down in price. Obviously, the legend is super cheap. Actually, I should mention that. Before we get into these, I have to say, this was the first time that I was kind of getting a little like bummed out by how many legends I was opening in the boxes, I'll add. I got a lot of legends where I'm like still short a whole bunch of cards that I would love to have had. Maybe, if Riot's listening, maybe tone back on the legends a little bit. Maybe add a little more value in those boxes. I'm just going to throw it out there. Those packs, you open a legend, it feels really bad. And that's something that needs to be maybe looked at. Would be interesting in your comments. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just like on an island by myself thinking that opening legends feels awful in Riftbound. But let me know what you think. Long story short here, Lillia, $52. And this deck in and of itself actually doesn't run that many cards. Like, hold on. Where is it? Spray Queen. It's running 1 Spray Queen. This is a inexpensive card at 23 cents. You could definitely run 3 of Spray Queen. Is it expensive? Of course it is. There's a reason why you may not want to run 3. Maybe 2 is totally fine. But it's a very straightforward substitution at a very low price if you are missing a Lilting Lullaby or something along those lines. Joe, what are your thoughts on Lillia, and more specifically, Lillia as a budget-oriented deck?
Yeah, so this one finished like 12th place in like a 128 player event. We're trying to actually show you tournament performing decks. Obviously, China has had Unleashed already for a month or so. They do play best of 1, so things can be slightly different. Like with the sideboard, you do a pre-sideboard and things like that. But it gives you a really good base to work off of, like a deck that you know this kind of shell is going to work really well. If you also have any copies of Unchecked Power, it's like one of the most sold cards this week in Europe. It has shot up in price. But Unchecked Power, if you even can just add 1 copy into your deck as like a card to like work towards, that is like the expensive card that you probably want in Lillia. Yeah, it's like you exert all your characters and you deal 12 damage to every character at battlefields. But Lillia is adding those into their deck as like a playset at the most competitive level currently. So certainly even just like 1 copy of that, if you can work towards it in a trade, maybe you've got one in your binder, that'll be like the natural addition to this deck to make it a little bit more expensive once you want to increase the price a bit.
Yeah, we got so many decks to talk about. I think it's almost 20, so we are going to go through it rather quickly. All the links to the decks will be in the description down below for your usage. And also, as Joe did mention, all of these have some competitive merit. To some degree, some legends are a little weaker than others, but we tried our best. And of course, things will change over time. But yeah, Lillia is going to be one of my absolute favorite. I am going to report back with a cook of my own. I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is really cool. And another deck that I intend on building, I think I did mention it, is Rengar. This Rengar coming in at $115. One of the more expensive, if not the most expensive deck we're going to be talking about today. I think LeBlanc might be more expensive, the one we have. But LeBlanc is just going to be expensive as a whole. This is an 11th place deck from 128. And I like this deck a lot because I think it encompasses everything that Riftbound Unleashed wants to be. And it's one of the reasons why I'm most excited to play it. A lot of the cost comes from, in fact, Rengar Trophy Hunter, which runs $16 a piece. Now, great news great news, because I'm experiencing this right now. I only got one Rengar Trophy Hunter. And the good news about that, he's going to my Legend Zone. Like, that's just straight up. He's going to my champion unit. And I got old Rengars who I can use, who are cheaper. And so this variation of Rengar might be a little more expensive, but by golly, you have an absolute opportunity that even if you only have one Trophy Hunter, who's amazing, by the way, if you have one Trophy Hunter, put him in the chosen champion zone and run the cheaper Rengars from prior sets, and you're cooking.
Yeah, like honestly, it might even just be better to only have one Rengar. Like, I'm not convinced that you need 2 Rengar Trophy Hunters in the main deck. Like, maybe 1, but 3 honestly seems a bit excessive, and that's where most of the cost is coming from. So Rengar looks like a really interesting deck. The main card you're going to want in this one is Thrill of the Hunt. It's kind of like the reason to play the deck, right? Is this signature spell. So if you can get your hands on a playset of those to begin with, the rest of it is not as important. Obviously, the Rengar Trophy Hunter in your champion zone would be ideal, but even if you don't have any of those, it's something you can work towards. There's cheaper Rengars available. And there's just like lots of solid cards in here which are very cheap, like First Mate. The Nidalee is like a really interesting new card, Alex, which is kind of like the orange Kai'Sa, a lot of people are calling it. It's 3 energy, 1 power, 4 might at ambush. When I win a combat, draw 1. At 3 energy, it's like really cheap potentially. So yeah, definitely an interesting deck. And I think that Pyke Dockside Butcher is about $6 or so, but it's also turning into a bit of a staple card in a lot of these Fury decks. So you're going to be able to use it in other decks as well.
Yeah, and so just a reminder, we actually had a comment mention this as well. When we talk about some of the new cards, we'll try to like read out some of the abilities as well. So like with Pyke, Dockside Butcher, the 3/2, it reads, well, it has hidden and ganking. You may pay 1 red power as an additional cost to play me, and when you play him, if you've paid the additional cost, ready me and give me +2 might. That's insane because, like, again, tempo is everything in a game like Riftbound, and you get to compete so aggressively with something like that. I'll also add, I talked about how Rengar was adding price. You do have in the sideboard 3 sabotages, which go for about $7 each, so about $21 in the sideboard in this case as well. So, like, once you take out maybe a Rengar or 2, and then those sabotages, the price actually drops pretty significantly. I just thought I would mention that. But yeah, like, this is incredible, and I know that we spoke about the Irresistible Faith Folk last week, an amazing card. I'm actually super excited about playing Rengar. I didn't think I was going to, but I opened 2 Thrill of the Hunts, and then I started looking at what I could build. I'm like, wait a minute, this deck is coming together pretty nice. And also, like, this deck, and a lot of them, they're not running things like Blood Rush. Like, that's a very easy substitution if you're missing something. Like, you're going to be attacking things, like, you know what I mean? Like, Blood Rush is going to be valuable. But at the end of the day, really like the look of this deck. And Grim Apothecary is a fun one, too. I think Grim Apothecary is particularly cool. And I do want to just add on to something with Thrill of the Hunt, is, like, because your Rengar is so unbelievably valuable, he might have a target on his back, and you're able to kind of use Thrill of the Hunt to remaneuver that Rengar to some great effectiveness, and using the legend ability, give him that +1 might, which can definitely go over the top, which I do certainly like. Now, Joe, you spent a lot of time testing Vi, the new Vi, Piltover Enforcer, and this deck is coming in. Get ready, guys. Get your pocketbooks ready. This was an expensive one. $19.59. Joe took budget Vi very seriously here today. I know you've been playing a ton of Vi. So before we get into the actual deck itself, which is, I mean, we're looking at the prices. They're all like in the pennies here. Let's just scroll down. Before we get into the deck itself, first of all, what do you think of Vi as a whole? Do you think it's going to be viable? And what do you think of this $20 deck?
Vi's pretty good. It's a lot of fun. What I will say is I felt like the best card in Vi, Alex, was Kai'Sa, which obviously this one is not playing, because one Kai'Sa would triple the whole cost of the deck. The reason Kai'Sa's like so good in this deck is because with the Hextech Gauntlets, you're incentivized to sort of get this like this excess damage overkill. So if you get Hextech Gauntlets on Vi, you give your Vi ganking. You conquer with Vi, you draw 2. You ready your Vi, you gank over, you draw 2 more. So I wouldn't honestly recommend playing Vi without Kai'Sas at the highest level, but obviously you can still succeed. Because what I will say, Alex, is that Yellow Order, if I'm not mistaken, got a lot of card draw options in this set. You've got the Hidden Blade, obviously, has already existed. Shadow's cool as an option. And then Unsung Hero synergizes really nicely with the Gauntlets here, with the Blighted Battle Axe. So there's lots of card draw options to replace the Kai'Sa. Vi is a lot of fun. It does struggle into Aurora a little bit. It struggles into Vex a little bit. But it's definitely a deck I'm going to keep playing and keep testing. And if I was chasing a metal card, Alex, I would be very tempted by Vi, as I'm such a big fan of the character.
And in this case here, the Jhin, Murderous Artist, which is a 4/4 for 1 power, and when I move, you add a power and an energy. I guess that's being utilized in order to kind of feed the Chosen Champ so you can double that might.
Yeah, and in this deck, because Vi is, if you get your excess damage with the Vi Legend, you ready Jhin, you can move him back. That just stacks up really quickly, like ganking is strong in this deck. Also shout out to the Sharkling, which is seeing a lot of play. It's this 3 energy, 1 might unit with Accelerate and Assault 4. A really nice 3-drop that you can play on curve, accelerate it in later on in the game as well, and help get that overkill. And like I think the theme really of a lot of these decks, Alex, in Unleashed is somewhat underwhelming legend abilities. Like both Rengar and Vi aren't the best legend abilities, but they've both got brilliant signatures. And Hextech Gauntlets, it might not look that impressive at first, but when you realize that this is the same cost as a BF sword, or same stats as a BF sword, but 1 energy less, and it can draw you multiple cards in one game, like it is not to be trifled with. So I'm really liking the design of these decks where you sacrifice that strong legend, but in place of it, you get brilliant signature cards.
Yeah, and I got to shout out the Noxus Hopeful as well. I think that's going to be a remarkably strong card. That's one that like I'm utilizing in my Rengar build. Actually, was it in the first Rengar build we talked about? Yeah, it's not here. So the first Rengar is not even... yes, it is. It's right there. It's right there. There's 3. Yeah. I was going to say, if you're not playing triple Noxus Hopeful, I think that you're calling it wrong. I think that's an amazing card, and it's only going to get better, especially with these Fury decks that want to put up a lot of power. Fury being red, Joe, just in case you forgot. We're getting there. All right, next deck. We're going through them nice and fast here. We have Vex. I love Vex. My good boy, friend of the show, Dexter, playing Vex at his most recent tournament. $56, Joe. This is relatively inexpensive, and a lot of the cost is really just in one card here, Sona Harmonious. The 4/4 for 1 power. The way I read that's so awkward. 4 cost, 1 power, 4 might. While I'm at a battlefield, ready 4 friendly runes at the end of your turn. It is basically Super Annie. That's the expensive card here. You cut those out, $24 gone. And this thing's one of the cheapest decks on the planet. But what are your thoughts on this Vex?
Well, it's also the Chosen Champion is also pumping up the price a bit,
True.
Alex, because I think it's like $18, Vex Apathetic. Now, honestly, I thought this was going to be like a $50 card, but from what I've been told, it's actually available in the starter deck. So if you get the starter Vex deck, you get such a good shell, like you're already really far along your way. So I've been really impressed with the starter decks for Riftbound in the past. Unfortunately, Riot didn't send me one on this occasion. I'm not going to pick up a starter deck myself, so I haven't had an opportunity to play it like I usually would. But the starter decks from set 2 were brilliant, and from what I've heard, the set 3 ones are also nice. So Vex is a great option of a starter deck to really get you started, and then you can just start improving your deck as you go.
See, in my eyes here, this has to be a deck you love. Because, look, we got so many things. You got Tide Turner in a 1-of. You could definitely add more than that. You got Teemo in here. Ember Monk. This is bringing me back in time, Joe. Like, Ember Monk gameplay in 2026. You know what, man? Like, it almost wants me to play, like just OG. Like, you know what? Let's bring Baron. Like, not Baron. Baron Mordo. Yeah, we got to bring him back. And we got to rip it because I love the look of this deck. Of course, Purple did get hit with a lot of the nerfs, but they were deserved. What do you think of this particular deck? We got Boots of Swiftness in here. We do got some gear, and I think gear might have a little more room to breathe. Everyone's just teching for Dazzling Aurora, really, right now. That's kind of the major thing, and I'd be curious if it survives to Vancouver, to be honest with you. I wonder if Sydney is Dazzling Aurora's last hurrah, to be honest with you. There's a good chance, right? Thoughts on that and on this?
I posted a video actually on my channel this morning, Alex. So when you've been at work, sort of say, I think Aurora's got to go. So I've shared a lot of my thoughts there. I don't think it's going to last more than a week personally either. Vex, I think, it's a good deck. I think maybe my concern about Vex is that the Vex Chosen Champion unit is so good generically in many other decks that you might just be better off playing a different deck, but with the Vex in the deck. Like, I'm pretty much putting Vex into every single one of my green decks, but this is definitely a deck which is really interesting, like Sona with the Shadow. I think that's a really good combo. The new Back Off card, which is if you played this from hand, draw 1, you stun a unit, costs 3, so like 3 to stun a unit, replace itself. You can also hide it. The deck's got a lot of interesting stuff going for. It's really just going to depend on its matchup spread. Like, we haven't really ever seen these all-in hold decks have that much success, and I'm still yet to be totally convinced that now is the right time for them. It's definitely a good deck in the early metagame. I'm just curious, as things settle, Alex, will this deck have quite the punch to hang in there? I think it could, but I'm maybe not the most optimistic that it's going to be like an S tier, but I think it can't really be lower than like C tier, for example.
Of course, yes. And well, we do kind of look at these decks. Like even here, I look at these and I'm like, oh, you know, I would change this. I would change that. Like these are very budget oriented decks that need optimization. And the way I would suggest you approach these decks is like, these are shells that have some competitive merit. Look at your collection and improve them from there. Use them as kind of like a basis, not as a rule book, if that makes any sense, Joe. Going to Diana, Scorn of the Moon. I did get an alt art Diana, which is just beautiful. Like, I know it's not like, it doesn't have like the monetary value, but I got to tell you, those alt arts, they're so nice. Like the foil work is absolutely beautiful. This is a little more on the expensive side at $98, but a lot of that is coming from Moonfall, which is the signature spell. I'm not sure why Moonfall is suddenly so expensive. It's likely to go down, I believe, as more people open boxes and stuff. But the majority of the cost is found in Moonfall, the signature spell for Diana. Regardless of that, this came 28th place out of 128 players. A good result for Diana. Diana, of course, being reaction, add 1 energy, and you can only spend that energy during showdowns. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I wonder if like the reason that the Moonfall's gone up so much is because Alan ZQ has been suggesting that they might be playing Diana this weekend. We've seen them a lot on Ezreal in the past, right? But if there's a lot of people looking to see what Alan's playing, we know he's one of the best players, and he's hinting that Diana might be it. That certainly could drive a lot of the early movers that are going to some of these big early events towards Moonfall. It is a brilliant signature spell, but also, unlike some of the other decks, also a brilliant legend. So I think this deck's got a lot going for it. The champion's good too. It's a good color pairing. This one's using Hiwai, if that's how you pronounce it, which is a 5 energy, 1 blue power, and 5 might character, which basically rewards movement synergy. So it works with like the Tide Turner. Ride the Wind is not in this one. Oh, no, it is. 3 copies of Ride the Wind. There you go. Flash also. So when I move, draw 1, then discard 1, then do the following based on the discarded card's type. So if you discard a spell, you draw 1. If you discard a gear, you ready up to 2 runes. And if you discard a unit, give me +3 might this turn. Obviously, Alex, you can move this multiple times per turn. And the card that you discard is also, it's like a traveling merchant trigger, right? It's not losing you a card in hand because you draw 1 first. So it's a really interesting option. I definitely wonder if we could see this card be good in Teemo as well. It's certainly something to look out for. But overall, it's a very strong legend. If you can get your hands on the signature spell, Alex, I think that you can do a lot of very powerful things with this legend.
And the signature spell Moonfall is a 3 cost, 1 power, and it reads at action speed. Choose a battlefield where you have units. You may move up to 1 enemy unit to that battlefield, then give enemy units here -2 this turn. So like, very, very powerful. Instead of here, it says there, actually. So, like, you move it in there, then you debuff everyone at the battlefield. But, yeah, absolutely remarkable. And it makes sense here that you might even try Dr. Mundo. Did I say Baron Mundo last time? Baron Mordor is from Marvel Snap. Dr.
Snap,
Mundo. Yeah, I'm like mixing up both now. But I'm glad he's making a deck finally.
Yeah, and just to mention on Moonfall, Alex, because it is like a charm that gives -2, but it's actually action speed, which means that you can charm something in your opponent's turn, which is something we've not really seen before. So I do think that this Moonfall card is absolutely absurd. Maybe even you want to get like Fizz in there as well, so you get even more access to this card.
Awesome. And Chakram Dancer, which we talked about, a one-off here, and I actually think that might be a pretty decent card. I'm trying to maybe cook with that a little bit there. And then we go to Ivern, and I remember you said, Alex, this one's cheaper than expected. Ivern, the Green Father, coming in at $40. And this one here is coming in at, where's my notes here? It is 14th of 128 at $40. So a very good result. And honestly, pretty balanced cost. Salvage being salvage at $4.33 kind of blows my mind. Why is salvage so expensive? I don't quite understand that. And is salvage the most expensive card in this deck, or am I not seeing something?
I think you might be right, yeah.
You gotta be kidding me.
Defy's up there as well as one of the most expensive at $2.43.
Is it just because like people aren't opening those sets anymore?
I think so, yeah. And that's probably like a new wave of print will help those come down, right?
Yeah, for sure. Anyhow, Joe, Ivern, I absolutely loved my time playing Ivern. I question its competitiveness in like a constructed meta, but in sealed, oh man, with those ultra soft poros, it felt like an absolute cheat code. What are your thoughts? Oh, look at that. 2 ultra soft poros is not the most huggable thing you've ever seen. Joe, thoughts on Ivern, the Green Father?
So I'm actually doing some coaching sessions with someone that's chasing the best of Ivern, and I have to keep the list secret. But what I will say is the deck is tons of fun and better than I expected. It's really, really interesting. Like the ability to wipe your opponent's or your own battlefield and turn it into a brush is very, very interesting. Can we just take a look at the battlefields, Alex?
Yes, of course.
Because yeah, what I would expect to see, and we are sort of seeing that with these Ivern decks out of the gate, is rather than playing like battlefields which benefit you, you just play negative battlefields. Because for you, if you move into the battlefield, you turn it into the brush. Because the Ivern legend, when you conquer or hold, you may exhaust me to replace that battlefield with a brush battlefield. And that brush battlefield gives +1 might to your birds, dogs, cats, poros, and Ivern units. So if you move into the negative battlefield, you just turn it into a brush and it's good for you. And then you try and force, ideally, your opponent into the negative battlefield. So you try to conquer their battlefield, right over it, so it's like no benefit to them, and then force your opponent into a negative battlefield. So it's a really interesting dynamic, and I do think that the deck's got some serious legs. Worth mentioning Stalking Wolf, Alex. I saw like a video from Lothar, shout out to him, who pointed out there's a very weird ruling with Stalking Wolf right now. So probably avoid playing this card. As it stands, it's in need of an errata because it's not really working as you would expect.
You know what? It's funny. I saw a discussion with that on X, and I read that. I'm like, huh, I got to remember that. Now I forgot what they said. But you're right. There is some verbiage there that needs to be changed. One thing that really stands out to me on this deck, by the way, very, very uncommon to see this, but I'm glad we're seeing it in Ivern, because obviously with Brush, you benefit the Ivern units. Do you not only have the friend to all champ, but you also run Ivern Nurturer in the deck as a 3-of. So you have your chosen champion as the Ivern friend to all, and then you have the Nurturer in your deck, which I think is kind of cool. You don't often see you running both sets of chosen champions in decks. We did see that occasionally in Origins, I guess, but in Spirit Forge, we didn't see that very commonly, did we?
No, and I think both of these chosen champions are pretty interesting. It's going to be interesting to see which chosen champion comes out on top at the end of the day. I'm just excited to share the list that I've been working on with my coaching student in a month or two once they complete their regional. We've got to keep it a secret until then, though. That's the rules. If you do coaching with me, Alex, it's off stream, it's secret deck building, and try and cook to get that best of. That's the objective. But I'm excited to share this one in a month or so.
And if you're interested in getting such private coaching, Joe will have a link down below, and you still got some spots or what?
Yeah, definitely. Like I'm playing a lot, and especially people that are looking to cook with unorthodox legends. Like I'm doing some Jinx coaching at the moment for someone playing in Sydney this weekend, and definitely enjoying playing Riftbound a lot at the moment, and helping people to especially optimize the deck list, but also get better in the long run is something I love to do. So thanks for the shout out to that.
Of course, and we'll be sure to remind you at the end of the pod as well. We go to Khazix. Now, you were playing tons of Khazix today, actually. I was watching during my lunch. Lots of Khazix. Relatively inexpensive at $72. And the Flash, which is the most expensive card here. Stack Deck. Somehow Stack Deck. I guess it's got to be these Origins cards, man. Stack Deck, $5 a piece. Flash. Now, Flash at like LGSs right now are being given away. They got so many Flashes. Do not spend $5 on Flash. Go to an LGS. They probably got a fat stack of them. I'm serious. Our LGS got like a rune container filled with them, like to the point that they're worth nothing now. Like it's like ridiculous. But anyways, Khazix, which I know you have some experience playing. I've not played Khazix. This finished 12 of 83. Relatively inexpensive. So Joe, break it down. What do you got with Khazix?
Yeah, this deck is so much fun, Alex. It's pretty much the only XP deck that I believe in, and it's because it's quite light on XP. You don't really need to have much XP generation in the deck. Like the champion can spend a bit of XP and generate a bit of XP, or rather the legend. The champion unit gains you a bit of XP. This deck is just quite well positioned into Aurora. Like this list we're looking at isn't playing Sabotage, but you can play Sabotage in this deck, which is one of the best cards against Aurora. You could play Akshan in your sideboard against Aurora. There's Sabotage on the sideboard.
Sorry, I had to scroll down for you.
Yeah, you've got like really good options into Aurora. There's also like the Investigator, which can potentially discard Aurora, which I think isn't in this exact list. But that's why I like it. Like, you should have a good Aurora matchup. And then with Gust available as well, Gust seems to be the card of the format to counter LeBlanc, which is one of the front runners. So it should just have a pretty reasonable matchup into two of the best decks in the format, which is always a good position to be in. And really the star of the show in this deck, Alex, you've got lots of generically good cards like your First Mates, your stacked decks, your Punch First, all the things you'd expect. But Void Assault, the signature spell, is the most mind-bending card that I've been playing. Like, it's so difficult to play it perfectly, but it's so enjoyable and so satisfying when you pull it off. So it's 2 energy and 1 power. Move a friendly unit, then move an enemy unit. So it is like a charm, but you're also moving one of your own units as well. So you can use this to like move your opponent's unit away from a battlefield and yours into the other battlefield. You can move your opponent's unit into the battlefield and yours into the base. There's so many options with this card, and it is so satisfying to pull off. You don't have that much card draw in this deck, so you do need to win quite quickly. But I think it's a super interesting deck, which a lot of people should be taking a look at if they're looking for a cheap, competitive deck for Unleashed. I think it's got a real shot of being very, very strong.
Fantastic. And that takes us to Pyke, who, okay, on the surface, I feel like Pyke's gameplay kind of calls to me a little bit. I like the idea of like returning units to hand and stuff like that. I think that's really cool. It's like our first chance to really bounce. And we have some new discard tools in purple. The little spirit. What's his first name? Oh, is it even in this deck? It's got to be in this deck, right?
It is, yeah. You know, there was a Pyke deck that had a good result, and I saw no Bewitching Spirit, and I was like,
Bewitching Spirit, yeah.
We've got to get a Pyke list with the Bewitching Spirit, yes.
Yeah, so this one here, it finished 4th of 128 at $103. So it's a good result.
It's a really good result. I've been impressed by Pyke, and the Bewitching Spirit is the key card, Alex, right? Like, basically the Pyke players I'm playing against are just bouncing the Bewitching Spirit left, right, and center. When you play me, choose a player, they discard 1. So very often, your opponent is going to be left with no cards in hand. I've actually been seeing some Pyke players using like the new Baron Nashor card, which I can't imagine is very cheap, but if you wanted to sneak copy of that, if you get it in your boosters, I think this is a deck you could look to do that in. And yeah, the Pyke Chosen Champion, the Dockside Butcher we talked about earlier, is great. The signature spell, I'm not totally sold on, but it is interesting. It's called Down from Below. 4 cost, 1 power. You can kill a unit at a battlefield. If it had 3 might or less, you may play this from your trash for 1 more power. But it's a very fun deck, Alex. It's definitely one I want to try out as well. One thing I would be concerned about right now is I'm not convinced you have quite enough discard in this deck to whittle an Aurora player's hand down to 0 by the time they play Aurora. I think that's the one thing that's going to hold it back until Aurora gets banned, if it gets banned.
I'm going to counter this.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want a deck in the meta that can whittle your hand down to 0? Like,
Probably not. But that is like,
yeah.
I mean, that is what this deck does, but it takes a while to do it, right? It takes a while. Like, by the time, because of ramp into Aurora, the Aurora player can just play the Aurora or like just hold some additional cards in hand. So it's probably for the best that this deck can't discard your hand that quickly. But if your opponent gets down an Aurora, you do have some counterplay with like Star-Crossed bouncing it back, and then maybe you could discard it later. But I'm not convinced like right now in the Aurora matchup for this deck.
Yeah, like we got to be careful with like too much like hand disruption, because like that's not fun. That's a really negative experience.
Yeah.
So they do have to balance it very carefully, right? We don't want to be able to blow up a player's entire game plan just by discarding all their cards. Although it is fun, like don't get me wrong, it's fun when you're doing it. You know what I mean? It's just it's not fun to sit against someone and be like, I'm just trying to play Teemo, bro. Like, what are you doing? Like,
I do have a bit of a reputation for playing discard in Dazzling Aurora Ban, Alex. I must admit, I'm a bit of a discard lover.
Bucky main. Yeah. We go to Jhin, who, oh man, I'm like kind of so upset that I opened so much Jhin, like multiple alt arts for like, and I almost feel like they're not even worth anything. I'm just so sad. But anyways, Jhin, there's a deck, and somehow it's $90. What's making this $90 here? Oh, look at that. It's the Thousand Tail Watcher. Still holding its value. Down to $28, though. It went from like 75, 80 to 50 for a while. It's coming down still, but Thousand Tail Watcher is still an absolute beauty. Binir Thunder Song at $4. So yeah, it's really just the one trick of like Thousand Tail Watcher increasing the price here. What are your thoughts on Jhin? I'm not a believer here. Jhin's just, it's not for me. Let's just talk about it though. This is a, how did it perform here? Oh, 7th of 52, which isn't too bad, but I think there's better choices on the list.
Yeah, I think the Jhin is like a fun deck. Honestly, I did get cooked by a Jhin player playing Time Warp with this Echo recurrent. So I think that's like maybe the route you want to go. Time Warp, I can't imagine is a cheap card though. But yeah, like this player I played against did some really interesting stuff with like Echo to ready all their runes and then multiple times triggering their Jhin, and then they just survive the early game enough to then slam 2 Time Warps in a row against me to gain 4 points. So Jhin, there's definitely something there. I don't think it's going to be the strongest deck, but I certainly think it's a deck that you could build to have a lot of fun with. But if you're on a budget, this is definitely one I would not recommend like building towards. It probably is an avoid, but if you have all of these cards already, you want to take Jhin for a spin, I do think it's going to be a fun one.
And I would be like, I don't know if it's bold to suggest that like it's the kind of deck that might actually decrease very rapidly, because if a lot of people don't build Jhin, they might be offloading those particular cards. But the combo you mentioned did sound kind of cool. Mm-hmm. So if it catches on, then maybe it gets a little more popular than expected. But yeah, Jhin by far is the archetype I'm least excited to play. I'm probably not going to play another Jhin. I played it at Sealed. That was enough for me, because I would rather talk about Poppy, who actually, like, to be honest with you, I didn't say I'm building Poppy because I didn't pull any of the signature spells. If I pulled signature spells, maybe I'd be talking about Poppy. This deck finished 27th of 128 at $67. And most of the cost, once again, it's a Rengar Trophy Hunter coming in at about $8 a pop. No, $16 a pop. I almost divided it by 2 because, there's 2 copies of it. But no, that's a per copy, $16 per copy. So $32 there. Look at that math Alex is doing on the fly. What do you think about Poppy, Joe? This does have 2 Keeper's Verdicts in the list. Who on it? There should be 3, in my opinion. Probably just maybe these don't have 3. Mm-hmm. Right, that's part of the challenge here with the budget-based decks. But yeah, I actually really like the look of. I don't want to say I like the look of Poppy. I like the look of the deck. Like I like the look of what you can do, and I like the Chosen Champion a lot. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I love Poppy the Legend, but I really like Keeper's Verdict. The Keeper's Verdict, for those wondering, is a 2-cost, 2-power, action speed. Choose an enemy unit at a battlefield. Its owner places it at the top or bottom of their main deck. Chef's Kiss Disruption.
Yeah, it's really nice. It is Rebuke but better, which is obviously a very strong card, right? So it's another one of these where like the legend is very underwhelming, but the signature spell is so good. All right, Alex, I will say, as nice as this deck is, it's on a budget. What if, instead of playing Poppy on a budget, hear me out, I've got a crazy idea. We play 3 ramp cards, 3 more of the 4-cost ramp cards. Like they're escaping my name somehow, which is a bit embarrassing. And then we play, hear me out, crazy idea, 3 Dazzling Aurora and 3 Elder Dragons.
For like what? Like an extra $300 though?
Yeah, it's not very budget, but I think Poppy is just an Aurora deck, unfortunately. Poppy is just an Aurora deck.
What if for a budget you got 3 Dazzling Auroras? How much is it even going for right now? We don't have a Dazzling Aurora deck. You can look that up for funsies while we're talking. But yeah, like I bet you Dazzling Aurora is still $80. It has to be. It has to be. If not, it's gone up. Or maybe it's starting to come down because people think it's going to get banned. I'm not sure.
I think Poppy, like my point on that one, Alex, is I think, again, if you're looking to build a budget deck, I would steer clear of Poppy. I don't think it's very good unless you're playing Aurora. And I'm not sure it's wise to invest in Aurora at this stage.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Like, I totally feel that. And it's a shame because I actually think, like, again, the Chosen Champ, the Signature, those are great. It's just everything else is a little like, do I want to do this? Nah, probably not, right? So, anyways, that's Poppy. There are some good cards here. Like, I don't know. Maybe I have hope. Like this particular deck is leaning more into the XP side, which makes sense because you gain XP for holding with the legend, of course. But yeah, I don't know. It does have Ruin Runner in it though. Yeah, I know that's like a very clean, nice card. Yeah.
Yeah, I think also I wouldn't be that surprised, Alex, if in our fourth set if we get more XP cards, if some of these older XP legends just become like significantly better. I think Khazix is the standout in this set, but I think the other XP legends are looking to be on the weaker end, as we sort of expected before the release.
Talking about XP, I was going to talk about LeBlanc next, but I can't. I got to take that transition. We talk about Master Yi, and this, Joe, very expensive. $34. Basically, you take you and your friend out for some McDonald's, and that's $34. Now, inflation's crazy. No, maybe it's not quite that much. Maybe it is, man. I don't know. I take my kids to McDonald's. I'm like, how did this come to $69? And it's like, I don't know. Everything's expensive now. Long story short, we got Master Yi, okay, so this new Master Yi, by the way, it's new Master Yi, not old Master Yi, new Master Yi. So at level 6, you gain, your units gain +1 might. At level 11, they come in ready, which is absolutely crazy. That is game winning. It is not the deck I believe in the most. Just, I don't know. I played some more of like so I had my sealed version that I got from Seattle. No, not Seattle. Where did I play? Oh, PAX Boston. Yeah, I was at PAX. Had that, so I was playing with it more. And I'm like, you know what? Like, it's just, if you get the engine rolling, you start cooking. But until then, you feel very vulnerable. I don't know if I believe in Master Yi. I'll have to see how the results are. This one did do okay. This one here is 9th place of 86. And it's inexpensive, but I don't know if I believe in Yi.
No, and I will say, like, the other Yi from Proving Grounds is one of the best generic legends in the game and is seeming to be pretty strong. So some of these cards you could take from this Yi deck and you'd probably be just better off getting the Yi from Proving Grounds, which I'm not sure that it's the cheapest currently, but if you can get your hands on that, I do think that it's a better direction to go. Again, these XP decks are just a bit underbaked. They're not even necessarily underbaked. It's more so, Alex, that a lot of the XP generation is just so lackluster. That's why the Khazix deck is kind of the front runner, because you have like a little bit of XP, but you're not all in on that strategy, right? Like cards like the Gem Hand Hunter, it's a 2 energy, 2 might card with Hunt, where you gain 1 XP when it conquers or holds. And when you're level 6, it gets +1 might. Like, it's just like, it's fine, right? But it's not doing much ever. And then like another good example is the Herald of Spring, 4 energy, 1 power, 4 might. It also has Hunt. And when you play me, gain 2 XP. So, okay, you gain 2 XP for 4 energy and 4 might, but you also have to deramp your energy with that 1 power cost. So there's just something not quite right about these decks as it stands. Grim Resolve, I think, is probably the best XP generator in this one, which is a 2 energy, give a friendly unit +3 might this turn. When it wins a combat this turn, gain 2 XP. If you can win like multiple combats with the same unit, I suppose you could gain like 4 XP a turn off Grim Resolve. So maybe like Grim Resolve plus Charm and Grim Resolve plus Skyward Strike is something we have to look at a little bit deeper in these Master Yi decks. Because if you can get to like a really high level, maybe there's something you can do with it. But like if you're playing this deck, that's probably got to be your all-in strategy, right? Like how do you gain as much XP as possible and then try and turn that into a win, which I think sounds ambitious at best.
It might be difficult, but to build a budget LeBlanc deck is going to be a challenge because I think a lot of the pieces are going to be expensive, especially Mirror Image, which maybe this is budget because there's only one Mirror Image here at $35. You also have Karthus the Eternal at $8.63. So it's rather expensive to build this deck. Comes in at $85. It finished 7th of 64. Now, we know that LeBlanc is one of the front runners for what people believe are going to be competitive in the meta. So what are you seeing from LeBlanc? And generally speaking, do you think it's a good idea to chase it from a budget perspective?
If you're like willing to invest in Mirror Image as a card, right? Like, which is probably a card that's going to hold its value for a very long time. So if you're planning on playing LeBlanc for a long time and you want to invest in a deck, I think it's extremely reasonable to go for this, right? The Mirror Image is the vast majority of the price. If you've managed to pull one in a pack, you can trade some with a friend, you know, start off with no mirror images and slowly build your way up. Like, I think you absolutely could, Alex. The reason that this deck is doing so well at the moment, there's a couple of reasons. It's a good deck in its own right, but it's also extremely good against Aurora. It's kind of like the natural Dazzling Aurora counter. I played against this when I was playing Dazzling Aurora like 4 times. I got smacked every single time. It's got a lot of really strong things you can do. It has a lot of draw. But yeah, it is true that signature spell is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the deck, but also driving up the price. You could still play without the signature spell entirely and still do reasonably well. Like, the rest of the pieces will work together nicely. But there's a reason the mirror image is so expensive, Alex, and that's because it's so damn good. Like, you would always play 3 copies of this if you can, right?
I think we're going to see a lot of very talented players piloting LeBlanc in decks that cost like $350, $400. I think that LeBlanc's likely to have very good results. But if you're going to play blue and yellow, like, we're going to talk about a Viktor deck that's so cheap. It's like, you know, I mean, it's like to talk about LeBlanc in like a budget category is difficult because of the cost of mirror image. So do forgive us, but we tried. We want to talk about each of the new champs because that's something we didn't do last time, which I thought would have been very valuable. Now, Joe, that is going to take us to our next section where we're going to talk about some of the Spirit Forged and the Origins legends that are going to be kind of budget-centric for people looking to cook and build. We have a few standouts from there, so we'll go through them quickly. And the first is going to be... Oh, wait a minute. Can you believe it, Joe? It's Viktor. It's blue-yellow. It's like I knew he was coming. $20, Joe. 20... Do you guys say quid? 20 quid?
Yeah, 20 quid. That would work. Although a quid is more like a pound. I don't know if you can call a dollar a quid, but I'll allow it in this case.
I don't know what a pound is either, so I guess we're just adding to the confusion. So anyways, this one here it's running the blue champ, which I don't mind at all. I actually like the blue champ. This is what it looks like. Now, I gotta be honest with you, like, there are so many ways to make Viktor that, like, this is one way to do it, and I don't even know if, like, I love this deck, to be honest with you. It's like $20. It looks like a $20 deck. I might want to, like, I'm cooking some Viktor too, so I might have to come next week with my little chef's tour of Viktor, because I don't know about this one.
Yeah, I also don't know. I mean, the result's crazy, right? I got like 3rd place out of 64, so let's be fair. Like, it's got a result. And I think that also just shows you that even with what is arguably a slightly suboptimal build with some of the card choices, like Blast Cone Fae is unorthodox, in fairness. So is the Chemtech Cask. I think those are the two that really catch the eye. I think if you were to remove both of those cards from the deck, we'd probably be looking upon it with a little bit more kind eyes. But yeah, like Blue Viktor, there's so many ways you can go about doing it. It is like the go-to budget deck. I still really love Jace Vanguard Armory whenever I'm playing this color combination as well. I think that's an awesome combo you could look at doing as well. So I think that, like, Viktor, blue, yellow, if you get these cards, so many of these are staple cards in other decks as well, right? Like your Stupefies, your Hidden Blades, your Cold the Weak. So it's such a good starting point to get into Riftbound. $20 3rd place, you can't argue with it, right? We had to include it.
I know, and it's $20, and that's the thing, though, right? Like, it's, you look at it, you're like, it's $20. There's a reason why it's $20. But I know someone out there is gonna be like, yo, that Viktor deck is sus, and it is sus, but it's also $20, right? We're doing the best we can here.
And it got 3rd place. That's 64.
God, I don't got 3rd place. I'm just saying. Maybe there's some. I can't wait for it. It's like, yo, that Viktor deck actually insane.
Yeah, wins the regional this weekend.
Sydney Regional won by $20 Viktor deck. What a headline that would be. That'd be actually good for the game, to be honest with you, if that happened. Yeah. No, I mean, maybe not good for Riot and UVS, but good for the game as a whole if a $20 deck can take it down. So this one here, Annie, I mean, I love Annie. I think Annie is perpetually going to be a good legend until it's rotated out. Grim Apothecary in this deck. I love Grim Apothecary. I pulled like 5 of them, which I'm not too upset about. Jhin. We got some Jhin gameplay here again. And, I got to clarify something. I was poo-pooing on Jhin. When I poo-poo on Jhin, I'm poo-pooing on the legend, but I actually think that Murderous Artist is legit for what it's worth, and we're seeing him being put in there, because it's like, it's just ramp for, just move back and forth between a battlefield that you already own, and you're cooking, right? We got 3 sneaky deckhands in this deck finally, and I'm loving it, to be honest with you. This is coming in at 14th of 128, $108, but that is deceptive, because all the money is in the sideboard in Vex Apathetic and Invert Timelines. So everything's, you get rid of that. It's like, so basically it's a $60 deck, $70 deck almost. But what are your thoughts on Annie? Because I've been talking too much.
Annie's so good. Like, it's such a good way if you can get your hands on the Chosen Champion and the Legend, because obviously these were Proving Grounds cards that haven't always been that easy to get hold of. But it's such a good deck that's just going to keep being relevant. And you can really trim away a lot of the more expensive cards and have a lot of success. it's just aggro, and aggro is good. Like that, those extra 2 runes you get every turn to spend on hard bargains and ride the winds and existential dreads and star-crossed. Purple got a lot of really good combat tricks this set, so yeah, Annie is great.
You and I need to find a regional to go to together because I just want to play some Riftbound with my man Joe Curley here. And we got Reksai. Now, I know Reksai actually started to gain some popularity at the end of the Spirit Forge there. Not even necessarily as a champ, but as a champ unit, which is being splashed into a lot of different decks there. This is a $34 deck. It finished 16th of 65. So we got some good stuff here. What are your thoughts on Reksai as a whole? And again, a lot of the value coming from that chosen champion, which found itself into a number of different lists.
Yeah, so a big problem that Red and Yellow has had in the past, of Fury and Order, is card draw, but you've got Shadow's Call now as a new addition. Some of the decks might play Sacrifice, this one isn't. But I'm really interested in Reksai and especially, honestly, Darius this set. But Reksai is the cheaper of the two. Like, the Darius deck is not actually very cheap, surprisingly. Like, you would expect it to be cheap because it doesn't see much play. But the Darius deck is, like, kind of been kept off the radar because it's always been quite good but always quite expensive. Reksai's dirt cheap. And it's a really good deck. Like, this Under Titan, Alex, is one of my favorite cards in the game. Like, the most important card in this deck is 3 Under Titans and the 3 signature spells. So the Under Titan is 6 energy, 1 power, 5 might. When you play me, give your other units +2 might this turn. So that like really rewards going wide. But the really powerful part of this is as I'm revealed from your deck, add 2 energy. So it's like a ramp card within red and yellow. And I think it's a really awesome deck that's a lot of fun to play.
You mentioned Darius. I bet you a lot of that, though, is going to be that the cost of baited hook, because there's probably still baited hook decks, is probably still high. And if we're starting to see an increase on the price of Origins cards, then that's probably going to increase the price of those decks. But yeah, I think Reksai is cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, Kaisa Survivor. Like, it's just, I think I only have one of those. And I was like, I'm not paying, like, it was almost $100. It was like $120 at one point for Kaisa Survivor. It's been like, that's some expensive cardboard there. Like, I'm just, no thank you. But yes, thank you to Volibear, because listen, you picked this one here, and I was like, Dragon Volibear, 31st of 128 for $66, and a lot of it comes from, I don't even know how to say this name, Cadragon the Infernal, maybe.
That works for me.
Yeah. So, anyways, this is from Origins. Honestly, I forgot this card existed. I gotta be straight up honest with you. I forgot this card existed. It is a 9/9 that costs 2 power, red power. It's a dragon. It reads, when you play me, draw 1 for each of your mighty units. Honestly, like, if you did like a test onto like, hey Alex, does this card exist? I legit forgot about this card. Like, did you forget about this card or what? Like, I can't be the only one that forgot that this card existed.
I kind of forgot it existed too. I tell you what, Alex, if Aurora gets banned, I might just have to become a Volibear Dragon main. Like, this dragon archetype, I'm going to play it on stream this week, honestly. It looks like so much fun. One of the key cards in it is this new Gentle Gem Dragon, which this deck surprisingly only has 1 copy of. It's 8 energy and 8 might, which is of course very expensive, but when you play me or another dragon, ready up to 2 runes. So you play this card for 8, right? But you ready 2 of your runes, so it kind of costs you 6, and then it triggers your Volibear, so you ramp. And there's like another card, it's the Herald of Scales, which is slightly above it, 4 energy, 3 might, also a dragon. Your dragon's energies are reduced, I think by 2 or by 1, I can't quite make it out, but basically your dragon, you play this dragon, it makes your other dragons cheaper, you get the Gentle Gem Dragon down. Like, I lost to one guy who had 3 Gentle Gem Dragons down on the board at the same time, Alex. So every time they played a dragon, they got to ready 6 runes. So it's honestly super awesome, and this is like the kind of deck we might start seeing more of once Aurora hopefully gets banned. These are the kind of decks that like Aurora is keeping out of the game by just being so good that there's kind of no reason to play a deck like this currently.
Honestly, have fun. I kind of roasted you at the start, but this looks so fun. This looks so much better than Dazzling Aurora. Like, the idea of like using like your Dragon Soul Sage to ramp, and then you have the discounted effects of Herald of Scale, stuff like that. You're right. This is the way that these types of decks should be played. Whereas Dazzling Aurora feels so uninteractive. I would so much rather see this. Much rather see this. Joe,
I think Volibear's
got 2 more.
Legend too.
You think Volibear is a good legend? You've talked about that in the past, right?
Yeah, I really like Volibear. It's just Aurora overshadows it, right? And you can do better things similar to Volibear with Aurora in different colors.
Now, there is a rather expensive, so you picked this one here, Leona, 125. And it's a lot of it comes from Zenith Blade. But here's the thing with Leona. Obviously, Vile Maw coming in at $26. That'll likely come down in price here. Sona. So you have like 3 cards really adding to the price here. Everything else is really, really inexpensive. But what I will say is you do have a lot of stun mechanics being added to this game right now. And so if any of the Origins Legends is going to come back, it has to be Leona, because you have so much additional stun, even just back off, which is such a good card. It's the 3 cost that allows you to stun a unit. If you play it from hand, you draw 1. It could also be hidden. Like, this is a good deck. Like, I'm actually kind of excited to see this thing. Blitzcrank making this one, which is like one of the OG hyper, like kind of aggressive cards. Like, I think that's kind of cool. Scuttle Crab, 3 of. We talked about Scuttle Crab being like a kind of a silent winner. I kind of like the construction of this deck. I think it's pretty cool. And I think Leona could be one of the biggest winners for the Origins Legends.
Yeah, it is interesting the deck costs as much as it does, right? But you can definitely build it a lot cheaper. And especially, like you say, like you can get those core cards like the Champion, the Legend for like next to nothing, honestly. And a lot of the stun cards are also quite cheap. So you can build this one really cheap. I want to give a shout out to Ash Focused as well, particularly in this Aurora meta. The ability to discard your opponent's Aurora is so valuable. It's much better than removing your opponent's Aurora with gear. So I would definitely load up on Ashes in the current meta game as well.
Yeah, using like basically removing the Aurora is so much better because you destroy it. It's already gotten a proc, right? It's already had its opportunity to do some damage. So yeah, I absolutely agree. The disruption is absolutely huge, and Ash has been a huge part of that. It's like a proactive version of Akshan, I guess, to some degree. And we're going to close it off with Azir, the Emperor of the Sands, which was my go-to set 2. I pulled the over number and I couldn't help myself. And we do know that, of course, there's tournament winning variations of Azir. A lot of the cost, the $75, does come from Arise, which is running $13 right now. It used to be like $50. Now it's $13. I'm glad to see it drop. Of course, I bought the top as always. This particular deck finished 9th of 64, but we do know that it is a tournament winner. What do you think? Oh my gosh. Under Titan in this one here, Joe. What do you think?
Yeah.
It's a bit of an interesting take.
Yeah, when I saw the Under Titan, I was like, ooh, I don't know about the Under Titan, if I'm honest. But I mean, it got 9th. But yeah, Azir you can build on a really big budget as well. And it's always fun to see like some of the different takes for Azir. There's definitely a few new cards you could experiment with playing in this one as well. Like Shadow's Call for a bit more draw, I think is a really interesting option. I do like that card an awful lot. But you've been a big Azir player for a long time, Alex, and it's just a very strong deck. And with Pickpocket out of the metagame as well, I think Azir is shining more than ever, right?
Yeah, I got to tell you, even like the tournament winning deck is so inexpensive. Like, there's nothing wrong with going that. Like, even this doesn't really have any of the new cards in it, to be honest with you. Like, you can so easy, like, you can like triple up on guards, which I think is really good, especially like when you're trying to be aggressive and take battlefields, being able to pay it to come in ready. Again, this is lacking some of the new cards here, but I think putting Azir on the radar is a good idea because it is going to be a perpetually cheap deck, and I think there's going to be much less gear hate. I don't think you're going to be seeing much pickpocket because the meta doesn't call for it anymore. And so there's going to be a space where a deck like Azir can absolutely dominate. Joe, that takes us to the end. Let's go, man. I'm actually so hyped up. This week, I'm going to cook some Rengar. I'm going to cook some Lillia. I'm going to cook some Viktor. And then I'm going to bring all 3 to my locals. I'm not sure which one I'm going to pick to play. I'm going to pick one and report back. Because listen, man, we are on the precipice of what I think is going to be a very exciting time to be a Riftbound player. We got Sydney this weekend, which we're going to talk about next week, obviously. We got Vancouver at the end of the month. Barcelona's coming. I don't know if you're going to that or not.
We've got Utrecht as well soon. It's like in a month as well. So
yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh, there are so many regionals happening, Joe. One just might say that it's a great time to be a Riftbound player.
Yeah, really excited. Unfortunately, I'm not able to make Utrecht this time around. I'm at a wedding that weekend, but Barcelona is definitely on my radar, and hoping to even try and go over to America at some point soon, Alex, so we can play some games. Wouldn't that be nice? Go play
hopefully
some 2v2s.
Riftbound Regional Toronto or Montreal even. Montreal's a great city for a Riftbound Regional, even though it's like Toronto's much closer to me. Montreal's like, that's our Vegas. It's our Vegas. So if you're going to do something cool, Montreal would be a good choice. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. We sincerely appreciate each and every one of you. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Subscribed if you haven't either, because we really appreciate your help in getting us into that algorithm. As I always say, we're still relatively new, despite we're on like episode 24 or whatever. Every single like and every bit of support makes all the world of difference. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you on that next one.